received. The first deputation is from Mrs. Lucas, and we're going to get you the roving microphone, Mrs. Lucas. You have 3 minutes to present your deputation. We, at the council, as the agent and the deputation, will have 3 minutes to respond, and then we are allowing 4 minutes from members of the council to ask members of both the deputation and the applicant stroke agent. Mrs. Lucas.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for giving me time to voice my opinion and the opinion of many residents of this town. Also, thank you to the member who sent me a 5-page missive of why the application should be approved and the range of services Vision has to offer. Reading page 1, quote, "The children's team provides space at Catmus each week for the following health service: weekly antenatal clinic for midwives and health visitors, antenatal support group for prospective parents, and a breastfeeding support group. Then there are a range of support programs for young babies, toddlers and parents, and development assessment clinics. This has nothing whatsoever to do with a library service. 60% of what is on offer is not centred around library usage. Only 2 sessions each week of anything to do with books and reading ability. Much has been said about the parking difficulties, and I'm sure there'll be more comments will be made on this subject. The whole extension looks like an add-on box, and is to be built in a conservation area. When Oakham in Bloom began, I was told by the then conservation officer that the grey cob wall surrounding the Peacock area was listed, and we had to have a Rutland County Council officer to oversee the work. This I duly arranged, and work began. 2 seats were replaced, one by a past mayor of this town and one by Oakham and Bloom member in memory of his wife. Oakham Town Council have maintained these seats ever since. The seats are well used by townsfolk, visitors alike, and the area is a pleasant space to read the daily paper, to sit and chat, or to watch the world go by. I note that the centre encompasses the whole of Rutland. So I ask the question, why Oakham? Why not another town or village? Once this building is in place, there is no turning back. If user numbers dwindle, then we have yet one more white elephant in this lovely town. The application, if granted, is another dreadful example of the destruction by this authority of a space in a conservation area. It is my and many residents' opinion a short-term gain for a long-term loss. I ask members to reject this application on the grounds of pedestrian safety and an inappropriate building in a conservation area. And I respectfully ask members to look for an alternative site. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. We're going to have the reply from Mr. Clayton. In fact, Mr. Clayton is going to be replying, I understand, to all the deputations.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to respond for the applicant. Delivering library and children's centre services from one site has been very successfully undertaken in many counties. It is now regarded nationally as good practice, which brings users to both services in one convenient location. The proposed design does not reduce library floor space and will provide independent access to each building with a single interconnecting door that which would allow for integration and segregation of activities as appropriate. Turning to the conservation area and the cob wall, the application for the extension to the library building is within the conservation area. Pre-planning advice was sought in relation to the design, and we have followed the advice given. The Children's Centre cannot be seen from Malden Close and is partially screened behind the trees on Campbell Street. The design is intended to complement the existing library building. The proposed site of the Children's Centre is a staff-only car park with very few merits. We agree that the cob wall is an important part of our heritage. Although it is not listed, we have carefully designed the proposed building to make sure that the wall is entirely retained and that the Peacock Garden is not changed. Given these points, the planning officer has concluded that there is some impact, but this is outweighed by public benefit. We see the benefits as increased capacity, a 33% increase in the size of the Children's Centre, provision of the supervised outdoor area, which the current centre lacks, flexible spaces for both the library and Children's Centre, which will support the sustainability of both, less traffic on Bull Lane, as there will no longer be any staff car parking at the rear of the library site. We would therefore argue the impact on the surrounding area is minimal. Regarding the choice of Oakham as a location, as the county town, it is by far the most accessible and closest to a significant proportion of the population, and the associated amenities, including the facilities that families use on a regular basis, such as the shops, post offices and chemists. As a minor point, undertaking the building works at the same time as refurbishing the library gives us an opportunity to maximise efficiencies by having a single set of contractors on site at one time. And in terms of pedestrian safety, we'll come back to this, I'm sure, but the Highways Authority has raised no objections.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton. Thank you. Members, do we have any questions?
Chairman, can I just ask Mr. Clayton
I'm sorry, not.
slow down, because I can't hear
Right.
his gambling. I have a word to say. Sorry, brother.
I'm sure Mr. Clayton would take notice of that going forward. You do have the time to explain. Members, do we have a question of either Mrs. Lucas or Councillor Lamey, followed by Councillor Newton?
Yes.
Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a question to Mrs. Lucas.
When you're addressing, sorry, I should have said, when you're addressing Mrs. Lucas, it will help if she can read your lips, basically, also.
It's just during your speech, you do comment that the site is too dangerous for pedestrians to use. If that is the case, then I would ask, why is the Town Council upkeeping and supporting benches on the site which users would have to walk to? It seems contradictory.
Mrs. Lucas.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not used to all this little electronics, as you know. Well, I have to say that is quite a blinded question. These are young children. These are not the elderly. These are not the visitors that are using these seats at the back of the library. These are mothers and toddlers, and sometimes multiple toddlers, I have to say, because we've had Facebook going mad this week. This is an issue for mothers or fathers or parents, to be absolutely precise, that will have to guide push chairs and very small children, toddlers I'm talking about. We're not talking about those people who are reading the newspapers. Thank you.
Thank you. Question to Mr. Clayton. You comment on other sites.
Sorry.
You comment on other sites where a children's centre has been combined with a library. Do you know whether that's resulted in an increased uptake in the book start program?
Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. This kind of scheme has been used extensively in Northamptonshire libraries. We've seen a big increase in the number of children participating in all of their reading programmes, including the book start scheme.
Are there any other
I'm
questions?
confused, Chairman. This is, none of this is to do with the planning application.
No.
Yes, I'll have a response from legal. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Councillor, you're quite right, we are looking at material planning considerations, but as you may be aware, often when we have questions from members of the public at the deputations, we will allow those members of the public to raise all matters that are of concern to them and respond, and applicants can respond to those questions. But certainly when we're looking at debate, if there are any non-material matters that members are looking to consider, we'll of course advise on that. But for the purposes of openness and transparency, we are keen that members of the public can get across all of their points this evening.
Thank you.
So I'm intending then, members, to move on to deputation. We have 1 minute, Councillor Collier. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. Yeah, just in response
The
to...
question is to who?
Oh, sorry, it's to Mr. Lucas, and it's really a reiteration of the actual state of safety in that area. Appendix 2 to the report actually lists the number of incidents or accidents over the past 10 years, and they are very limited in number and in severity in
I
that
think
area.
that's a statement more so, Mr. Conway, as opposed to the question with respect.
And
also
would
we
you
are
understand...
time- Well, we are timed out now, I think. Thank you. So I'm going to go on to deputation. The second deputation is from the Rutland Schools Federation. We have the roving mic available. Thank you. We have 3 minutes as in the normal procedure. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm speaking on behalf of Campus College, which is part of the Rutland District Schools Federation, and I'd like to speak in support of the application. The current provision for visions at campus is inadequate. There is no outside provision for the children. There is little space for the pushchairs, and almost no natural light given its location underneath the mezzanine. There was a compromised space when the building was completed, and has become more constrained since as the public cafe outside is now the college refectory. This means breastfeeding